And we discuss anything in the realms of healing and doing the self-love work. And today we are talking about the space to deal with it all. Some of you might have heard of this space, have you heard people say, well, you need the space for it. You need to create space for it. And what does that even mean, right? What does that even mean? We just got out of the meditation that we host every Saturday at 10 a.m. And you had this lovely visual that you had us do where there was a sand glass. Hourglass, where she had us imagine the sand, like we're basically the hourglass, and the sand was taking up space in our mind, right? And then you had
through
worry and just whatever,
all the thinking,
anything that you're stressed out about, right? That's occupying space in your mind. And then she had us imagine the sand going through from our minds, right? And then emptying it down into our bodies and into the earth, so that there's space now in your mind. So I just love that visual. And it's both of our birthdays. Hello. So
birthday week.
Yeah, birthday week. So we're going to be sharing the themes that's showing up in our birthday week and what it's all about, and how we've been having the space to deal with it all in the best way possible that we possibly can. So I'm going to let Hallie go first. So yeah, is there anything that you want to say about the topic, and then leading into the space that you're seeing yourself have to deal with what's going on with you this week?
Well, I think a big thing about space is presence,
Yeah.
Because our worry happens when we're projecting into the future often. And there are things in our life that we just cannot anticipate whatsoever. They're just going to be surprise things that happen. And if we're anticipating them or worrying about them, then that takes us out of our present moment, right? Where we're always okay, no matter what's happening. So yeah, Quinn and I had just like a doozy of a birthday week. We both had like really intense things happening. I went on a trip, and within a couple hours of being there, I fell and broke my foot and banged up the rest of my body. And I was in the hot desert. I was in Tucson, 116 degrees.
Woo!
And I had a broken foot and like couldn't walk. And like and I was supposed to go to Mexico and continue my trip in a couple of days and go visit family. But I couldn't, and I didn't. And I have a really hard time flying. I get like extremely nauseous on planes, really, really sick. So by the time, that was another factor of the fall, is that I was like really sick, feeling really
because you just got off of the plane.
I just got off the plane. It usually takes me like a whole day to recover. Like I have to sleep it off and get to the next day before I feel like myself again. So anyways, there were all of these like coalescing elements that created this one moment where I was literally walking down the street and fell. So that was just the thing. And it's like, as soon as it happened, I knew exactly what happened, because I had broken my other foot in the same spot like 12 years prior, maybe 15 years prior, actually. So I was like, oh, I just broke my fifth metatarsal. And then, so anyways, that was my reality. I was like, okay, this is my reality. I am not at home. I just broke my foot. This is my vacation. I'm not going on the other part of my vacation. I have to get back to Sacramento somehow, some way. And here I am back. Like it all happened, right? I figured it out. It took a lot of like problem solving, but really like part of like being on the self-love journey and doing this work on a regular basis and leading meditation on a regular basis and processing on a regular basis and clearing and cleansing and purifying on a regular basis is that when something kind of hectic happens, right? You're like, okay, I can be with this. I have the space to be with this. I can be present with this, And like, yeah, I was worried about like, how am I going to get on an airplane that makes me the sickest I've ever felt in my life and have a broken foot? There were so many like, oh God, like there was a lot of dread in getting back home. But the other thing about it was that it was very funny. Like my girl Lano and I, who I was visiting, like we were laughing so much. Like she watched me fall. We had to like get a big, strong laugh out just like in the fall moment because it's just so funny when people fall.
Yeah.
And then just like the irony of the whole thing, we just like would just like burst into laughter, like as I'm like dragging my foot, you know.
Oh my god.
It just was funny. And so the humor, I think the humor is another thing that creates a lot of space in challenging moments. It's like if you can laugh at yourself, if you can laugh about the situation, like you are creating space to deal with it.
Yeah, and I want to acknowledge something about your journey because I've watched you go deeper and deeper and deeper into your healing. And when I say deeper, it is addressing the deep, like the deep wounded stuff that we've experienced when we were young, and then like we go there. So I just want to acknowledge like the inner child that you like brought to life, or like had her with you. From like the fun moments and then the deep work.
Yeah.
So all the stuff that we've been holding on, we haven't processed that takes up space somewhere in there. So like when things like this happen out of nowhere, it will show the space that you have. And then when you share this with me, you were just in such a, like you were still in a good, like you were still in a, just the way that I experienced you sharing. I mean, it's like, wait, oh, poor Hallie. But at the same time, I was like, oh, she like handling this. Like, I feel like you had so much like presence, like you were so present with what was going on with you, and you were just totally like handling it.
Yeah.
I didn't hear panic in your voice.
Totally. I was also, the other interesting thing is that my friend that I went to go visit just had a baby. So I was going to go help her. Her husband was out of town, and I was going to like go help her with the new baby. And so like it ended up being that like I was laid up and had my foot elevated the whole time on ice, couldn't walk, and she was doing baby and taking care of me. So it was like such a big, like that was part of what was so funny about it. It was just like, wow, this like we cannot plan for anything really. Like as pure as our intentions are, like things are gonna happen in the way that they're gonna happen. But thank you for that acknowledgement.
Yeah, because it's showing up in how you're showing up to these moments that happen out of nowhere, right? Like you went, like, okay, your first day, walking down the street.
I like don't do extreme sports at all.
No, she does not.
Like, I literally was just taking steps.
And right doing something, I was walking. I was like, okay, you were walking, and then you didn't get too much detail. Yeah, and it's like, okay, all I know is that she was walking, and she breaks her foot on the way to go eat, right?
Like picking up our tacos.
Picking up the tacos, yeah.
And then, here's another funny part of the story. So so I fall. We have to like hop up onto the sidewalk. We have the baby. And because I couldn't walk, she couldn't leave me on the side of the road. It was getting dark. There was this like creeper riding his bike back and forth.
God.
There was a dog barking at us. And so she was like, I'm not leaving you here. But she literally lived around the corner. I couldn't walk back. And so we were like, what do we do? What do we do? We finally called a Lyft. She like called some friends, no one was home. So we called a Lyft. And by the time we got back to her house and she fed the baby and we got my foot up and we like got situated, the restaurant had thrown away our food because they closed.
Oh my
she
God.
had no food. But we did. She had some canned soup. So we got to eat some canned soup for dinner. It was just such a crack up.
Yeah. And like the space to have humor, bring humor into the situation and make it like a whole event. So that is just so.
And a memory. Like we're never going to forget like that experience. It was we're already best friends, but we've been best friends and have never lived in the same city before. So we see each other once a year. Yeah. And then just like FaceTime and talk on the phone a lot. Gosh. So to have such like a potent bonding experience of like me being so vulnerable and helpless and her too in a way being a new mom and us having to really just like show up to that in full presence as much as possible, like it was really beautiful. And so then on the very same day that I was doing my travel day back home, you were going through your major thing.
Oh my goodness, most major thing. And this major thing was planned, you know? So the space that we want to talk about is so precious. And yes, it takes work, right? Like, again, the things that's occupying our space is the heavy stuff. It's things that makes us frustrated, makes us sad, makes us confused, angry, bitter, all of that, right? And so the work is so important because it really helps us in these times. Like, I mean, like, looking back at how I dealt with the planning and the facing of my dog passing, like needing to pass because he's 15 years old. Um, the family and myself has been witnessing his health decline and decline, a little going up and then decline, up, decline, and then like reaching to this place where he's like, if I put myself in his shoes, I would be like, I'm done. Please let me go. Um, yeah. And the thing is, I watched myself still get in some sort of self-love practice where I was like either expressing myself in a healthy medium, like video or like voice recording, going on my jogs. Like, it just, every day I was able to accept something, which led me to do what I needed. And I just want to, the space like that we keep on talking about, right? It helps us find like clarity in the decisions that we're making. Like, I was confused if I was making the right decision for like
calling that shot.
Yeah, calling that shot. And I remember the first day that I faced it, I'm pretty sure I still went on a jog that day, I believe, because the first day was kind of like facing the fact that he's going to be gone soon, and then the following day I went on a big-ish hike, and then I came home, and because I was like clearing up my stuff, I was able to fully have the space to take in how he's feeling, like what he's fully communicating, and it took me facing it, right? Like facing my shames, my attachments with him, and continuing to work out, continuing to do my healthy releases, and then having space to see him like full on his quality of life. And in that day, inside, it was even more clear that yes, I'm making the right decision. Like, yes, like he's ready to go. And then the following day, still went on my jog, and I had officially made the call on Monday, right? And that Monday, I felt peace for him. I remember sitting and telling you, like, I actually feel like right when I made that call officially, like I felt like I accepted it, and then like he was ready to go, and I felt happy for him because I was just imagining him being relieved from like all the confusion and pain, his mental things. He had dementia, like I don't know what it's like to have dementia, but like if you're like forgetting things and like forgetting where you are, finding yourself in your own pee, your own poop, falling all the time, forgetting how to use your body, like, oh yeah, it's frustrating, it's confusing, and and I continue to show up for myself throughout this whole entire process. Even the day that we let him go, we decided to go to the park where we held his birthday, and we took him there on his last days, and to get Daisy, the other dog, out. She was grieving. I was like, you know what? The park is just down the street. I felt like jogging, and it was so healing for me. And yes, yesterday was officially a day that since he passed, like I still showed up, and like I'm just seeing myself having the space to continue to feel into my grieving, and the space today, doing the meditation today, to really recognize what's still there, what's still there that hasn't been fully processed. I've been processing it, but like I'm talking about like the processing continues, right? Because the shame of not being there for him in the other years is something that I'm still holding. It's still there. I still hold shame over that. So the title, The Space to Deal with it all. I mean, how can you if you're not releasing and still showing up for yourself, right? Like the hourglass that we were talking about, the part where you're actually like making space. Yeah, like that's the work, So like what is a way that you can show for yourself and letting yourself release? Is it by talking about it? Is it by exerting physically into something to get it out? Is it the meditating just to let the thoughts come up and process through that way? Like, what is it? Because You're going to need it when something unexpected happens or something that you know that you need to deal with is coming up, right? It's either we know that there's something that we need to deal with that's like hanging out in your peripherals in the corner of your eye, or something out of nowhere happens.
There's always going to be a doozy of a something that's going to land down.
And that's the beauty of life. I know for those of you who are going through a hard time, you're like, oh, fuck that. It's really, truly beautiful when we can turn that into a growing experience, a healing experience, a personal growth moment, right? Like, oh, there's so much opportunity in that. And that's within the space. So please have some sort of healthy outlet or a supportive system around where you're able to release in a very healthy way for your soul, your mind. Yeah, it's like how would I say it? It's mindful work, really.
Well, and I love this reframe on self-love. Like, what is self-love? What is a self-love practice?
Mm-hmm.
It's a practice that gives you more space. It's a practice that cultivates more space within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really helpful because sometimes like self-love, okay, right. Like I don't really understand what that is. But when you think about space-making practices, we all know the feeling of having less space and then doing something that creates more space within ourselves.
Totally.
Some people sing it out, right?
Yes.
Some people dance it out. Some people draw it out. Mm-hmm. Some people move it out, you know? There's just so many ways to create space, and every different snowflake of a human has like a different beautiful way that they can cultivate more space within themselves. And there's no correct way, and there's no specific formula. It's really so personal. Mm. And so that's like the beautiful part of the journey is like finding your unique space making practices and outlets that really serve you. Mm. And that piece is so important because that's about getting to know who you are.
Yeah, totally.
And trying different things and experimenting with different things and then finding the ones that really work. One of my favorite things is this breath class that I go to on Wednesdays. Mm-hmm. It's like such deep space making through intensive breathing. And it's like, it's my favorite, but I didn't know that I liked that until I showed up for it and tried it. And then I'm like, oh, wow, this creates a lot of space within myself. I'm going to keep showing up to this. Mm-hmm. So, you know,
I like
practice.
I like how you said it's so personal.
Yeah.
It is so personal because you're going to have your own experience with it, right? Like not everybody's going to say yes to yoga.
Right.
But it might be your jam,
Not everyone is going to say yes to journaling, but it really might be the thing, you know. Mm-hmm. It's going to be, so different for each person.
So different. And we have our own things that we're releasing in that practice. So, oh gosh, that's why it's such a liberating, defining moment. It's like so memorable for you. And it will liberate you. You will feel lighter. You will feel confident because when we don't feel confident, I just imagine my insecure self is like where it's like, I'm like confused. I feel uncomfortable being alone, or I always feel like I need to attach myself to something just to feel sane.
Yeah.
Like to a person. Safe. Yeah. I'm safe. So, it's, that's why we're here, you know, self-love Exodus, self-love live.
Well, and it's interesting too, like for me personally, like my release practices are very like embodiment oriented.
Yeah.
I like to stretch. I like to move. I like to walk. I like to, do body things, but I can't do those things right now. Mm-hmm. So now I have this opportunity to like go into other areas that aren't my normal go-to to expand. It's an expansive opportunity, right?
Yeah, I was like, there's something here for you. Yeah.
And there are practices that I know are so helpful for me that I just don't do because the body stuff works so fast and feels so good. So that's just kind of like my go-to is just drop into my body.
Yeah.
But things like writing, that's one that I just neglect. But it's part of my dharma. I know that I'm here to like express through the written word.
Totally.
So like now I gotta do these things. I need my outlets.
That is so true. I remember when I was recovering from surgery and I was so used to being so active in my body and I was so sad that I couldn't do them because they served me so well and I was so used to going to my body. And so, like I told myself, okay, well, so I just wrote in my journal every single day, at least, right? I told myself, I'm like sitting here not even able to move. I need to do something, so I just wrote every single day.
Yeah.
You know, something. Yeah. So, yeah, we're curious if you've experienced what it's like to have space, right? I feel like every single person on this planet knows what it feels like to not have space. Have you felt the opposite? How did that feel? What were you able to problem solve? Was there an acceptance? Was there peace that you were able to feel? Yeah, I have some memories that are just coming up from like the self-love work. And it's like really like maintenance for yourself. You're growing and then you're maintaining, you're growing when you're maintaining yourself. I remember when there was a hospital situation where my brother was in the hospital because he overdosed. But I just remember having the space to be with everybody. I'm like, and I was witnessing myself being able to do that. I'm like, there it is, like it helps you in these moments where you will need it. You will need it. So that's what we're basically saying. You will need it. Yeah. Even everyday stuff like work, easy work. You show up, what's going on at work, right? You need space for work. Handling people without blowing up or like crumbling down because you feel so overwhelmed.
Panic attacks and anxiety attacks. That's a really clear indication that you don't have space
exactly
cultivated.
Exactly. Yeah. The simplest way to put it is if you don't feel good, you need space for yourself to address what it is that's going on that's not making you feel good. Right? Yeah. Space making. Yeah, before this title, we were like, self-love is a space making practice. Boom. Boom. Hello. Yeah. So yeah, that is our message for today. Is there anything else that you wanted to add about the space? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you have the space to even plan the surprise there. That's what I'm seeing you do. Like she had the space to plan out a secret delivery.
Well, Eddie was really he kind of led that.
Really?
Because we were driving yesterday. I was like, oh, Quinn's birthday is tomorrow. I want to have something for her, but I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything. And then he called me this morning and was like, I'm going to the farmer's market. What if I get Quinn flowers?
I love it.
Over. Like, yes, but get her something else too. Because flowers die, and I don't like just watching flowers die. I want her to have another present.
Oh yeah, I know, right? Flowers are so beautiful, so beautiful, nice. And you know it's like, temper. I know.
And then you just like have to throw your present away. I'm like, there's something you shouldn't throw away too.
Oh my god.
So yeah, he was instrumental.
Oh wow. Yeah. Right? So everybody, the space to deal with it all. The space. It's gonna help with your relationships too. We're not gonna go into a tangent with that. But like right, there's maybe next week, the space for your relationships, other people. Oh. Okay, everybody. Get in your practice. Get to your space making practice. And we will see you next week.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.